With me now is Congressman Adam Schiff. He's a member of the House Select Committee on Intelligence. Welcome back to you. What do we make of all these new developments? It seems like every day on this case, new twists and turns. But just from where I'm looking at it, more and more focus back to Dagestan, back to the 6-month period that Tamerlan Tsarnaev spent over there, where he now, according to some Russian authorities, may have had direct contact with some militant jihadists.
Well, and Piers, I think we can expect that it's going to be like this for some time. We're going to continue to get these new developments because we're so early in the investigation, and the investigation is so well publicized. But what I find most interesting about the developments you've covered thus far in the program is this possible connection that was revealed in this Novaya Gazeta, this Russian newspaper, between William Plotkin, a Canadian-born boxer, converts to Islam, joins the jihad in Dagestan. Seems like a pretty familiar story when you look at the story of Tamerlan. Whether they met or not, it'll be very interesting to know what took place in the course of the Canadian boxer's life, but particularly if his killing by the Russians was the impetus behind Tamerlan's leaving. He may have decided that rather than join the fight in Chechnya with the outcome that took place there, that he would return home, and then later decided to engage in a plot on the homeland.
Right, and we're also hearing that he may have had Tamerlan some connection with a man of mixed Dagestani and Palestinian parentage who was being watched by the Russian security services. His name was Mahmoud Mansour Nidal. He also was killed in a shootout with Russian security forces. But the more we hear about this, just the less comfortable, I would imagine, authorities on both sides are feeling about the fact that Tamerlan Tsarnaev has gone back to 6 months and not being picked up by almost anybody, despite the fact he may have been consorting openly, it seems, with some quite militant jihadists.
Well, and also, if this Russian newspaper report is accurate, and a lot of these Russian investigative journalists have done very good work in Chechnya and Dagestan. For those that have been critical of the Russian government, it's cost them their lives. But particularly interesting, if Tamerlan went to a Russian agency to get a passport, to replace his passport, you would think that all kinds of red flags would have gone off if they didn't catch him on the flight in. So you would think that the Russians were very much watching what he was doing, but they may not have. They may have missed it, and I suspect we'll be finding out a lot more about it. But it is a very interesting coincidence. These two boxers, both radicalized. We look forward to learning more about this Mohammed Mahmoud Nidal as well. And I think that, we need to take these leads very seriously.
Absolutely. And Congressman, Eric Holder, the Attorney General, has made it clear, but we can play the clip actually, about what he thinks happened in terms of the reading of the Miranda rights to Johar Tsarnaev, who's obviously still alive. Let's listen to what Eric Holder had to say.
The decision to Mirandize him was one that the magistrate made, and that was totally consistent with the laws that we have. We had a 2-day period that we were able to question him under the public safety exception. So I think everything was done appropriately, and we got good leads.
Now, a lot of people are quite agitated about this, saying that he should have been tried as an enemy combatant, or at the very least, the FBI should have had longer time than the apparent 16 hours they got with him, where they were getting lots of information, but the moment he was read his Miranda rights, the moment he got proper legal representation, down came the shutters, he said no more. Do you go with Eric Holder on this, or do you think there is some cause for concern?
No, I think the Attorney General is quite right. There was never really a legal or constitutional basis to hold him as an enemy combatant. This is an American arrested on American soil for acts committed in America. That's about as far from the paradigm of a military combatant, that as a foreigner caught on a foreign battlefield, as you can get. I think there are two things involved with Miranda here. One is, when does law enforcement, how long is that public safety exception before law enforcement has to advise a suspect of the rights? And the second is, how soon do they have to present the person before the magistrate? And here it looks like that second issue, the presentment issue, was really determinative. They might have had more time under the public safety exception, but when the magistrate said, we're arraigning him on Monday, basically that was going to be the end of it. So my sense is that law enforcement probably got about what they were going to get in terms of public safety and that exception, which the length and dimension of is protecting the public. And after that, it was going to be pretty close in terms of when the arraignment and the ultimate Mirandizing would take place.
Congressman Adam Schiff, thank you very much again for joining me.